Hello, Facebook fam, and thank you so much for joining us for a very special town hall with Circuit Court Judge Alan Apte. I am Vakira Fai, and I will be facilitating this town hall on behalf of Arwani Law Firm. Judge, this is my second time that I get to have a conversation with you, and I'm very excited to have the community evolved a little bit more into our conversation. First off, I do want to ask you, how are you doing this evening?
I am wonderful. I am so happy that the former hurricane tropical storm has decided to go towards the Atlantic and not do any damage to our fair community.
Seriously, gosh,
Yeah.
Florida is fun living, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Guys, if this is your first time hearing about us, please like us and share us. If you have any friends that you think would have an incredible question for the judge, since we do have a little bit of his time tonight, please go ahead and share it with them. And remember, this is a live. So please, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it into the comment box and we will get to it as soon as we can. I am excited about this town hall. So let's go ahead and, if anything, let's go ahead and introduce you, Judge, a little bit to them. Since, of course, I've had the pleasure of talking to you and I know a little bit about your history and just who you are as a person and your upbringing. And if you could, Judge, please tell us a little bit about who Alan is. Not Judge Apte, but who is Alan?
Thank you so much. I've been in Central Florida for over 27 years. Lifelong Floridian. My family is multi-generational. My dad's side of the family dates back to Florida to the late 1860s. And my mom's family moved to Florida World War II-ish. And I always start with my mom and my dad because they are who because of them is who I am. Mm-hmm. And they had it very, very tough growing up. They're both born during the Great Depression. My grandfathers were very, very blue collar. My dad's father was a truck driver until he was killed. My dad was really young at 5. My mom's father, he was a mechanic, and he was a mechanic and couldn't do it any longer. And only work he could find was a handyman. So these I call them the troubles, is where my family background comes from and how they decided to raise me because they had it very, very difficult. My dad had to grow up real quickly. He had to become the head of the household. Mm-hmm. His mother, my grandmother, was a maid cleaning people's houses, and his brother is physically disabled. So my dad had to step up and be the man of the household. And if it wasn't for his mom saying, you need to get out, you need to get an education, you need to become independent, it got my dad to do anything and everything to get to college. And he did. He went to University of Florida. He used the military to get there. He was in ROTC to get to Florida, and he was in the first graduating class of aeronautical engineering at University of Florida. And he didn't have a car. He had to hitchhike to up 27 to get to Florida. If he had enough money from waiting tables, he'd rent a one-way car to get back to South Florida. So these are the stories I grew up with my dad. And my mom's the same way. When they had to come from New York down to Miami, and the way they afforded an apartment was my grandfather being the handyman. That's how they could afford. And she was taught by them that get an education and work hard. So when my parents got together and had me, they came together and said, we're going to make sure that Alan goes to college, not just college. Mm-hmm. Alan's going to get a postgraduate degree. So from my earliest age, that was them. They're like, college, college, college. This wasn't just college, college, college. It was graduate school, graduate school, graduate school. But they tempered that a little bit. I always cut the yard. I probably can't do this now because there's probably some law against it, but I worked as a bag boy in Pantry Pride, which used to be called Food Fair. So if you're Floridian, you know what that is. And my parents made me take in junior high and 7th grade home economics and typing, because those are both skills that you are going to need at some point in life. And I remember that typing class, I would have dreams and nightmares typing from the covered keys at night in bed. And I learned to cook, and I learned to be self-sufficient. So when I was a teenager, I would do the laundry. I would cook my own meals, snacks when I come home from school. My mom, things like that. And when I was in college, I would teach people how to do their laundry, and I knew how to cook and take care of myself. And even now, as a full adult, um, I do all the laundry. Cook. I do all the
You still do it
laundry.
all.
I think I may have told you this last time. I think I told you I have 4 laundry baskets.
Yes, you did. Home
It is,
economics. Is that who taught you that?
no, I think I did that on my own.
Good.
I have four laundry baskets, and then everything is separated. So towels go into one, the gym clothes go in another one, and I separate the other clothing and everything. So I have 4 laundry baskets, and that's how we do it, and that's how we do it. So that's Alan.
Alan.
My
It sounds
job.
like you.
I'm sorry.
I said it sounds like you have a very rooted, moral-driven foundation.
Absolutely, and I got the best of both worlds from my parents. My dad, an aeronautical engineer, and was a lawyer, he was alive. Very analytical. He helped design military aircraft, and he was a lawyer for some government contracting firms as well. So very precise work, numbers. This is all pre-computer days.
Mm.
So very analytical side, and I got that from my dad. And then my mom, who is the school teacher, she's got an undergrad degree in education, a master's degree, and she gave back as much as my dad gave back to the community. She taught in the inner cities of Miami and New York, because she's from Flatbush before she moved
Mm.
to Florida. So what I got from my dad is that analytical side, where numbers, rules, and there. And then my mom, I got that when I can act outside of the rule, not the rules, but when I have discretion is probably the best way to say that. I have the ability to go outside that box. So I'm inside the box with my dad, and I got outside the box from my mom. And I think my educational background probably is a perfect example of that. As we talked
Yeah.
before, my undergraduate degree is in chemistry. I have a
Mhm.
minor in computer science, but I also have a minor in fine art, and I'm a few credit hours shy of a literature degree.
Wow.
And I actually went to a art high school my sophomore, junior, and senior year, where I wound up taking college level art classes with
Wow.
I learned to paint, I learned to draw, ceramic,
Cultivated that creative side of you.
the creative side. So I have that. Okay, let's make a chemical formula here. Then okay, let's go use some watercolors over here. So it's a left brain, right brain, which I think gives me incredible skills as a lawyer and as a judge to evaluate everything that I do and render a
Right.
good decision. Render a good decision.
I love it. So since we talked about your childhood first and what brought you to where you are right now, I'm going to start my first question with a question from my son, actually.
Okay.
And that question is, he would like to know, is your gavel made out of wood? Because he does not believe that it is made out of wood.
Interesting. When you become a judge, it's the only time you can receive gifts. And when I became a judge, there was only 4 or 5 bar associations. Now, just like 15, and it's like you need a trolley to get everything out. But they don't give us wood gavels. We get glass gavels, and
Glass.
there's a symbolism behind them. First, it's the symbol of the symbol of law, the gavel. I think that's more of a television movie type symbol, but but those are things that you can give as gifts, and they're engraved with your name and everything. And I've heard over the years, the people who give them is we give you this as a symbol of your office, but it's glass because we know you will not use it, because if you do, you will break it. So it's that sort of the concept where you start with your temperament aspect, that you should not use something like that in any way. And that's more of a television thing. Of that nature. I do have a wood gavel. It was a gift. I've been assigned twice to the juvenile drug court, where I would handle all the juvenile drug court cases, and I try to keep the kids out of the system and get them help type program. So at a conference, one of the sponsors gave everybody a wood gavel, and it actually has their company logo on it, not me.
So cool.
So it sits in my office, and I always have the logo so you can't see it. So it's there. And
so have you never had to use a gavel?
No, never, ever. A good judge can command the courtroom with how they run the courtroom. And if a judge exudes professionalism, the room would be professional. If the judge does not exude professionalism, it's utter chaos. Now, there is chaos because some divisions are just that way, where if you ever go to county court and sit in a county court arraignment, you think that you're watching Harry Stone on Night Court, because it could get a little bit there, because it's the people's court. So it's how the judge runs the courtroom. But never, ever. I know we had a judge years ago who had a 5-foot tall gavel that was at a big. The hammer part was really large, and he always kept it in his courtroom as I think it was a gag. And he was a very well respected judge. And I do have soft ones, the squeezy ones.
Yes,
I got a couple of those. I got that at a conference. Yeah, so it's the thing that. And my favorite judge gift I got is called Hug a Judge. It's a black polar bearish thing that has a jersey on it that says Hug a Judge with a heart on it. So I love that. That's in my office too.
That is so interesting. Well, I will make sure I let him know. I would have never been able to have answered that properly then. But there is another question from a viewer that says, describe to us the spirit of your courtroom, which I think is a great lead-in from the fact that you've never had to use a gavel.
Well, the spirit of the courtroom, it depends on what division it is. And what I'm one of 2 judges, and actually maybe one of 3 judges, I'm thinking about it, I've actually practiced in every single courthouse within the 9th Circuit. What people don't realize is we don't just have 3 courthouses. People think of Osceola Courthouse, they think of the Orange County Courthouse, they think of the Michigan Street Courthouse. But what people don't realize is we have courthouses in Apopka. We have courthouses in Ocoee. We have courthouse in Winter Park. And we actually have a historic courtroom in Osceola County. I've actually practiced in every single one of them, and they're all unique, different settings, and the rooms also lend to it. I remember being in the old courthouse, being practiced in the historic courthouse, which is now the History Center. That was an active courthouse.
Wow.
I actually practiced in there. I did trials in their ceremonial courtroom, which is that courtroom. When you're in that courtroom, it's like you can tell the seriousness of what's going on because the way the courtroom is set up. Juvenile courthouse, it's a family setup. If you notice, if you go to juvenile, the courtrooms are rounded, and the concept is everybody is together. So when you're in that courtroom, it's more of a family setting, which has a little bit of a chaos because it's like being at the dining room table and everyone trying to do that. So each courtroom has its own vibe, so to speak. The courtroom I'm in now is the Guardianship Division, which takes care of our most vulnerable citizens in our community. I do the Marchman Acts, which is substance abuse, Baker Acts, which is mental health issues. I also deal with the guardianships. Those are people who can't take care of themselves as well for whatever reason. They may have a qualifying condition, a medical condition, or a physical condition where they need the court's assistance and someone to help them out. So, and then they do the risk protection orders, which are the firearms for people who should not have firearms because of mental health issues. And I do the Jimmy Rice cases, which are the sex offenders who are about to be released from prison. The Department of Children and Families evaluates them to see if they should be civilly committed for mental health reasons. So I deal with all those issues to help our vulnerable citizens and also protect our citizens from individuals as well. So the courtroom can be very, very serious, especially when I do something as like I did several times last week, do not resuscitate hearings. In our community last year, we had an issue with a professional guardian. And that professional guardian, I've never had any cases with. That person is no longer a professional guardian and has some legal issues going on in another circuit within the state of Florida. Our chief judge decided that we needed a full-time guardianship division. And that's this division I am. And he came to me and said, I want you to start this division. I want you to see what works and what is not working, get with our justice partners, because the clerk of the court is our true justice partner, because they assist me in these cases, not just keep records like in other cases.
Right.
And to make it very, very professional and make sure that every one of our individuals in Orange County are protected. So the judge before me, Judge Thorpe, she started it, and I made it a rule in my division. I have the right to under the statute, because I can limit guardianship powers. And I limited that no guardian can execute a do not resuscitate order unless they have had an evidentiary hearing in front of me. And I've done that since day one.
Wow.
And so those hearings, those are weighty, because I know if I give the guardian that authority, that when that person codes, it's just going to be a natural end. And that's what's going to happen. And I've had, and that's, I do that frequently because that's what the division does as well. What I do infrequently, which is heart-wrenching, and I did it I actually started the hearing last week and I actually finished it today. I had a request from the guardian and the doctors to discontinue life support so that the natural process can start. And that is up there. It may be the hardest thing that I had to do. And it was not an easy decision. I weighed, and I didn't finish it right away. I asked him, I needed more information. Please come provide this to me before I make my decision. And it's very, very, so when you have those hearings,
right,
you feel it in the courtroom. You feel the seriousness of the setting, and you feel the seriousness of it. You know, there are hearings where there's levity. There are hearings like when I have the kids, because I have kids and they come on Zoom a lot. I do a ton of Zoom hearings, and I had some kids the other day. There were 3 siblings, and I was talking to the mom. And I'm like, I want to meet the kids. Where are the kids? And she's like, no. I said, yeah, I want to meet the kids. And she said, one of them was upset they couldn't come to the courthouse. I said, then get them. I want to meet them. They were so cute. And I had a few minutes before the next hearing, and we spent about 5 minutes just talking.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And I think I turned into my mom and dad. I said, okay, where are you going to school? What you want to do? And mom's in the back doing this. Like, thank you. He's like, all right, thank you, Judge. Keep doing it.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny. So
the lawyer, and this is how it's interesting. I've known the lawyer since he was in high school.
Wow.
And I've known him in high school. I know him when he was in college. I know his dad. I know his mom. And I know him to college. And I gave him trouble from going to not my school, but he went to 2 other schools. I'm like, I still like you. and that was a lawyer, and does a really good job, and it just adds to it. And I love kids. I love kids, and
That's awesome.
I think when I was in the juvenile division, I would always say, I had people bring me their classes, or I'd go to their classes, and I would let them watch court in the courtroom, and then it was over with. You take off the robe. I mean, you wear the robe to show the seriousness of the proceedings. But when
Right.
you're done with, the robe comes off, and you talk, and the questions are great. I love the questions. So when I had the opportunity to speak to the 3 kids last week, it was maybe 2 weeks ago now, it was great. I really enjoyed that. And kids think judges are scary because we sit in a robe. Television gives press. Like you're thinking the gavel.
The gavel, you're sitting up high,
There are
you're
no
looking down
gavels.
at me.
No gavels. And people, because we go to judges. When you become a judge, you go to judicial college, and it's the first week in January, and it's another week in March. And I remember coming back from judicial college, and I had my friends who were not judges, not lawyers, and they asked me, "Oh, is that where you learn how to use your gavel?" And I'm like, "No, they don't. We don't get gavels. Like, wait to the investiture, and you'll see they're going to be crystal, and they're going to say that this is just a symbol, and you should never use it because you will break it."
My gosh, that is. I love now knowing that, and you're up high, and that's great that you have a connection like that with children, and that you took time out of your day to talk to. That's incredible. If I was the mom, I know I would be over the moon, because it creates that much more of a connectivity to somebody that they see as a superior, and if they feel that much closer, imagine what it is that they are now able to strive for, just because they had a 5-minute conversation with you.
I never wanted, it was never my goal to be a judge. I was always going to be a doctor. I was always going to be a doctor. That's why I have a chemistry degree. I was going to be a doctor. I took that year off. But, I tell jurors, when I do jury selection, I have to start off with qualifications and things of that nature for jurors. And I also take the perception, the concept, not perception, but the concept is people learn about the judicial system from outside of the judicial system. So it's that experience they have with books, movies, television, what their friends and family say, or other places that may have a different system. And what's the greatest part about the melting pot? We have people from other countries who have judicial systems that we would be horrified about. Like, oh my God, how can that be? I tell people when they're for jury duty, we have the best imperfect judicial system in the world. So when I say imperfect, is we're never going to be perfect. We will strive every single day. We can work every single day to make things better, but if we could get there, that will be amazing. And I hope we do one day get to that point where it is no longer an imperfect system, but it's a perfect system.
Oh, and I love that.
I tell jurors, you have to set aside what you've learned outside of the courthouse, because that's not reality. And I use Law and Order as an example. I say Law and Order, my favorite show from the 90s, NBC. I was 5 years old. No, I'm kidding. I was 5 years old when it came on. The first 20, take out the commercials.
Right.
40 minutes. So the first 20 minutes, something happens, police are involved.
Exactly.
Second 20 minutes, there's a trial.
Yeah.
My part of the jury selection takes longer than a Law and Order episode. And I tell them part of my role as a judge is to debunk the myths of the system so that the litigants, if it's a civil case or a criminal case, or whatever type of trial I have in front of me, that both sides get a fair, impartial, and legal jury. So that's part of my role. That's part of my role.
That is incredible, Judge. I have another question. It says they are asking, how do you become a judge, and how did you first become a judge?
Well, Florida is unique. We have two methods to become a judge. The governor can appoint someone to a judgeship if a vacancy exists. And a vacancy exists in multiple ways. One, the legislature creates a new seat and designates it by appointment. A judge retires early before the end of the term and tells the governor, I'm retiring early. Another method is the unfortunate aspect if a judge passes away while in office, or the judge is removed by the Florida Supreme Court for malfeasance. Those are how we create vacancies. So it could be a new position, or it could be an old position. And there's nominating commissions that interviews individuals who statutorily qualify. That means so many years as a lawyer, be a registered voter. There's all these requirements they have to be. It's to do it. And there's an application, a standardized application to be filled out. Oh my God, the application, I think good applications are probably 40, 50 pages of information. And they run background checks on you, and they run credit checks on you. They make sure that there's nothing in your background that would make you not be able to not hold the office, but to not be influenced by anything in your influence. So as part of it. Then the governor,
like a juror.
I'm sorry?
This is similar to how they pick jurors.
Absolutely. So the governor gets to decide, and he or she may have has a deadline. The committee has 60 days to give him or her the names of the individuals, and then the governor has 60 days to make a decision. So it's like you can't sit on it like they do in DC. They can't do that. The other method is an election. Like any other constitutional officers, judges are constitutional officers. I am not a political appointee. I've been elected multiple times by the community, and I intend to be reelected again on August 18th. And I've been elected by Orange and Osceola counties multiple times. First time when I was elected by the community, and I had no opposition in 2 further times, and I'm seeking re-election now in a contested race.
Very, very cool. And I have another one that asks, why do you feel it is important to elect judges?
It's the will of the people. And one thing I left out is it's the will of the people, but here's the thing as well. The ones who are appointed by the governor has to stand an election, the next election after being able to serve 1 full year. So it's not, if you're appointed, you don't get 6 years. When you get appointed, you have to be on the next ballot after you have served 1 full year of your appointment. So if you're appointed on June 1st of an odd year, you will be on the August ballot in the even year. If you're appointed in October of an odd year, you get almost 3 years to get to stand election. But that's the longest it could be, is like 35 months. That's it. So either it's 35 months or it's like 13 months. So at that stage.
And Judge Alan Apte has been elected. So you've served your full terms on all of your terms.
Absolutely.
I see another question right here that says, if re-elected, are you committed to serve out your term?
Absolutely. I am coughing, so excuse me.
No, you're absolutely. He has to be able to get through his cough to get re-elected, guys.
When I'm in court, I always have something to drink because we speak a lot. Because it's everything is by word. We don't use hand signals. We don't tap. We don't use gavels. So I always have something to with me in the court. When I do jury instructions, I always have a Ricola because it's
really?
40 minutes of speaking, 40 minutes to 45 minutes straight of speaking. So I always have a Ricola when I do jury instructions.
That's why you
so
speak.
Yes, I am completely committed to fulfilling my term because the community votes me to do a 6-year term, I am going to complete a 6-year term. That's what I warrant to the community is, you want me to be your judge? I will fulfill my obligations to be your judge for the full term. Absolutely.
Guys, that again, we are talking to Judge Alan Apt, up for re-election on August 18th is the election day. Guys, you can always go to his website, reelectjudgeapt.com. And remember, you can drop a comment. We are still here taking questions from you, our community. Let's go ahead and see what other questions we have here, Judge. Let me see here. What forms of voluntary professionalism and community service have you been involved with in the past and currently? Which I think you were talking a little bit about your mom as the one who had pushed you so much to make sure that you were intertwined in the community so much when you were younger. I can only imagine how it plays a role in your adulthood.
My dad as well.
Your dad as well.
My dad as well. So, right, my mom is all about community service, and I started really young. So the traditional ways, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. My dad also wanted me to do things as well. So Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, they're there. My mom was actually the Cub Scout troop leader. My dad would volunteer to be one of the people in the Boy Scouts when we do our camping trips and our jamborees and things like that. My dad had a military background, so he knew to do a lot of the different things. And Father's Day was it's gonna be a long answer here. So Father's Day is very important because Father's Day was always a day that my dad took me away from the world. I love my mom. My mom is what is the best. But my dad and I, that was our special day where he'd take me away. And when I was little, it would be, okay, wake up, and we would go fishing in the Everglades. We would go fishing in the Everglades, and we would do that. And that's where my dad taught me things. He taught me what a good father is supposed to do, what a husband is supposed to do, what a man is supposed to be. Taught me all these things. He also taught me how to be a leader. My dad was an officer in the Air Force, and he says you have to lead by example. You have to be humble and things like that. So I learned that from him. So that's where it all started. My first real community service, besides doing the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, I think was my last year of law school. There was a juvenile delinquency and prevention program that was starting at my law school, and I started the program when it started. And the goal of that program was to keep kids out of the system. And now we have a civil citation system, but even with that, there's paperwork, and the police are truthfully involved, and all these different things. And our system is so better. I mean, different and better at the same time. The school with the SRO would refer the child and the parent to us. There's no paperwork, there's no police report, so there's not that stigma of that the child's in the system. And they'd come on a Friday at like in the afternoon, and they would meet with one of us. And I did this. I was part of the program, and they would meet with me, and we would discuss what happened at school, and we'd talk with the parents, talk with the kids, see what's going on at home, what's going on in school, and we'd come up with ideas and tools to keep children from having negative contact with law enforcement, keep away having negative contact with peers and other students and teachers like that. It was a great program because if we could keep the children out of the system, that's better for the children. So that's the first thing in community service. So when I moved to Central Florida, it was just an easy thing for me to continue in community service, and I'll go through all of them. In my time in Central Florida, the longest running community service I've been is over 18 years. And I'm in an organization, it's a statewide organization, and we provide education, medical care, financial assistance, college scholarships, educational opportunities, summer camps for individuals, children and adults who have all different types of bleeding disorders. And we're one of the largest chapters in the country, and it's based here in Central Florida. And I am very proud to be part of that organization. I've been on
that one?
It's called the Hemophilia Foundation of Greater Florida. We deal with people who have hemophilia. That means that blood doesn't clot, and Van Waldebren diseases as well. These are all bleeding disorders that a lot of children don't want to tell other children they have it because they don't want the stigma of having something wrong, or because if you get a bruise, you can internally bleed and you can die. So it's a very serious issue. And when I was asked to join the board, I was like, absolutely, because I got to meet a bunch of kids when that's where I got recruited by the executive director. I think she may have learned that about me somehow and had kids there when she said, come on, I want you to be part of this organization. I'm the longest running board member besides the executive director. And over the years, also, Boys and Girls Club, both Orange and Osceola County. And my favorite thing about Boys and Girls Club, when I was on the Osceola branch, we started a program at Buenaventura Lakes Middle School. The first year of us being there, no teen pregnancies and only one child arrested at that school in that program.
Wow.
And that solidified to be part of that organization. And I was also in the Boys and Girls Club board in Orange County as well. Gary Kane, who's the executive director, he's been there for forever. He's an institution here in Central Florida. I've enjoyed being part of the boards that he's the executive director on. And Big Brothers Big Sisters, love that organization as well. I was part of that organization for years. Again, most people don't know is I lost a relative who had Down syndrome. And so that's one of the reasons why. It was my family, we all lived near each other where I grew up. It was that family aspect. So I know, and my cousins, after my cousin passed away, they adopted a child and gave that child a forever home. And that my cousin has always been grateful, and he knows he's adopted. He looks like us a little bit, but he knows he's adopted, and he's been very, 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 very appreciative of that. And my cousins who adopted him are just incredible individuals. So, I mean, I've coached youth soccer, and my favorite one are the U6 kids, because you got to try to teach them skills, and you got to tell them there's no score being kept. And the biggest thing is you want to keep them in their lanes. So they want to chase the ball all over the pitch. And I'm like, so it's so much fun to watch them do it, also to teach them. And I volunteered for Seniors First and delivered Meals and Wheels. I did Meals and Wheels in the Paramore area, delivering in that area of Orlando. I'm just trying to think. I do all these different organizations, and I continue to do them, and I will continue to do them every single day. And it's part of my fabric. It's part of my fabric is giving back to the community inside the courtroom and outside the courtroom, because being a judge is a form of community service, because people come to me to help them resolve their disputes. And so I really enjoy I'm probably blanking on community service hours. I mean, community service. What kind of community service I do? Other organizations that I've done over the years.
It sounds like you're very involved.
Rotary International. So Rotary. I've been a Rotarian in 2 different counties, because I lived both in Orange and Osceola, and I know every inch of both of our counties. So when I was an Osceola Rotarian, our place that we went to was Give Kids a World. And that reminds me of my cousin Sandor, who passed away. His name is Sandor. Because Give Kids a World, if people listening don't know what Give Kids a World is, it's called The Village. It's on 192. It was started by a Holocaust survivor, and it's family run, and his name was Henry, and he started this, and every child who had who's not going to be with us, who are going to miss. And this is how I talk about it. I know when I was out there volunteering, I know these children may not be here next year, may not be with us next year. They may never marry. They may never go to prom. They may never go to a Friday night football game. They may never drive a car. But the village, based upon everyone would give money and time. Builders built houses, built buildings. They get to go to the theme parks for free. That time alone is completely free for them and their family. And so they didn't have to worry about anything. Just to give a little bit of happiness to a child is just an incredible aspect of it. So we would work there as a Rotary, and I loved it. I loved seeing the kids, and we would work in the restaurant. We do Sunday breakfast in the restaurant, and I loved that. And that was the greatest thing. And when you get to be a good volunteer, you get to work in the ice cream parlor, and that was the ultimate. Because you want ice cream for breakfast? Come to the. And we'd be walking through the village. It's like ice cream for breakfast.
You're the one they
probably got some parents very upset with us, but it was available. You could come get ice cream for breakfast, and
that's so cool.
The village is incredible. And over the years, I've been part of all different organizations as well. The Jewish Community Center in Maitland, I was on their board. The Holocaust Memorial Resource Center, I was on that board for years. And one of the biggest projects that we did was the Anti-Bullying Project. And that's very, very important, because it doesn't matter what religion you are, what race you are, what gender you are, what your sexual orientation is you're subject to being bullied. And the anti-bullying program that was done through the Holocaust Center was a great tool to help people understand that bullying is wrong and how to come up with ways to stop it from occurring. And I enjoyed my time serving that organization as well. And that's what I do. This is what I do. And I never say no. That's the problem. That's how I get involved with all these organizations. And sometimes I'm like, you're doing too much. Like, it's never. You should do something. You should help someone every single day. You should always pay it forward every single day. And the best part about it for me is when the question about community service. My community service is completely altruistic. The only thing that is not is probably the soccer, because it started off with me coaching my stepdaughter in soccer because no one would coach. But after that I did it because I wanted to do it. I'm not a great soccer player. I don't think they would want me on their soccer team, but I could teach the fundamentals and make it fun for the kids. I can
teach you how to kick the ball from that side to that side.
Altruistic community service to me means you do something purely to benefit the organization, and you have no benefit in return other than having a good deed. I don't benefit from it. It's nothing. My family doesn't get anything from it for doing it. Nothing in return. That's what altruistic community service, and that is what I do outside the courtroom. Inside the courtroom, it's helping people form a community service.
Right. Yeah, it definitely, your roots run deep in this community. And this is the community that has elected you before and will elect you again August 18th. Guys, election day is coming up. Judge, we do have a few more questions. I see another one coming in from Romy. She asked, what are your views on how the court can improve on dealing with racial and gender bias?
One of the most important things about being a judge is we have education. Florida judges are known around the country for our educational opportunities that we provide for ourselves. We have an organization called FCEC, Florida Conference of Education. It's for education. It's called FCEC. We have a diversity and inclusion division as well. We are required to be trained every so many years. We are required to have so many hours in fairness and diversity. We are required to have continuing judicial education. It's about 50 hours every cycle. It's also, and the cycle is 3 years. We're required to have ethics hours as well. And these are the concepts that I talk about when it comes to racial and gender biases in the court setting. What people understand is we don't bring people into us. People are brought to us by different methods. Someone files a lawsuit against someone, so that person brings the other person in. Law enforcement arrests people, or the state attorney's office charges people, and that brings people into the system. The Department of Children and Families, to protect children, bring families into the system. So judges, we take what is brought to us. So we have to be able to make our decision-making process, we can be actually fair in our decision-making process, but we have to make sure that the perception of our fairness equates to the actual fairness. So how do we do that? It's called access to court, giving everybody an opportunity to come to court. And it's not just the opportunity to come to court, it's the timeliness of the opportunity to come to court. And it's a truism. Justice delayed is justice denied. If you don't think you're getting your case heard in a timely manner, if you don't think you're getting a prompt ruling from a judge, those issues may chill the actual fairness, because you will think that that's the perception of fairness, because that perception is that ruling is not fair because it took too long to occur, or you did not have enough time in the courtroom to present what you wanted to present. What everyone has to understand is judges have to follow the rules so that it's a level playing field for everybody. The rules are there, and if we have to follow the rules, one is, what's our jurisdiction? What is the standard in this particular case? So again, when it comes to racial issues and gender issues in the courtroom, is, as a judge, every single day, I have to strive for that perception of fairness, to get to or close to that level of the actual fairness, because if I don't, the individuals are not going to feel like they were heard.
That's good. We have another question, Judge, coming in from Gina. It says, what do you feel is the difference between you and your opponent?
Experience. I've practiced in every single courthouse as a lawyer. I have done, as a practicing lawyer, over 100 jury trials, including homicide trials. I have, in this first chair, that means I've selected the jury. I've done the entire case from the beginning to the end. Over 100 non-jury trials, countless evidentiary hearings. I've been a prosecutor because I've been an assistant state attorney, so I've represented the citizens of the state of Florida. I've been a civil litigator, so I've done civil matters, and I've done criminal defense matters. So, and in my civil practice, we did everything. We represented corporations, we represented individuals, we had family cases. We did everything that came in, and that's a well-rounded aspect that I have, is that I have all of that experience. And then when I became a judge, I have, again, practiced as a judge, or presided as a judge in every single courthouse within this circuit, and I've been assigned to every single division: criminal, family, delinquency, dependency, domestic violence, violation of probation division, unified family court. That's one family, one judge, so there's no inconsistent orders. And I was tapped to start that division by one of the previous chief judges. And now I'm in the Guardianship Division, where I protect our most vulnerable individuals. I take every one of those experiences every single day when I evaluate what I hear and see in the courtroom to give the best result. And my analogy is this: if you need surgery, are you going to go to a surgeon who has never performed that surgery?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to go to a surgeon who has done it over 100 times, become more proficient, and done it another 100 times?
Right.
You're going to choose this. You're going to choose a surgeon who has done all of that work, not the one who has never done it. So when you
Mm-hmm.
step into that courtroom, when you're sitting at that table in the courtroom, or you enter that courtroom, when you see me there, you're going to know that I'm going to have all the experience to give you the best result based upon the facts, rules, and the law.
Oh, that is good. Oh, Judge, you give me all the tingles and stuff. I know you're talking up a storm. I'm going to take over a little bit so that you can take a sip. But oh my goodness gracious, I love this town hall. Being able to see the community ask questions and hear you just do what you do great. This is amazing. Judge, I have another one for you. It says, how do you feel about virtual court proceedings?
I am ecstatic.
I love it.
We could not do this before because
Right.
our rules, and the rules matter. The rules matter. I've
Mhm.
had people say, well, Judge, just do it. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. We can't just say, we're going to do something for you and then do something different for you,
Mhm.
because that's not fair. We need equality in everything we do. We need to raise the bar, not lower the bar, or separate the bar. So when the Supreme Court had changed the rules because of the pandemic to allow trial judges, if I can see you and you have a government ID, like a driver's license or an ID or an ID or a passport or something, and I can see you raise your hand, I could administer an oath
That's
and you don't have to enter. So what's so great about this is it is the most incredible thing for that whole thing about the perception of fairness and actual fairness.
mhm.
It makes the proceedings more fair because this is how it works. The lawyers or the parties have to agree upon a hearing date. Well, I can't do this because I'm here. I got to drive there. I got to drive there. So one, the lawyers can't say, I can't make it. The
Right.
lawyers are like, oh, I'll be in my office. I can do that. I can
Right.
take, well, not 15 minutes, I can use this 15 minutes, not like, oh, not this week, not next week, not 2 months from now. The litigants and the witnesses. If you have a witness who's on vacation, great. They
I
don't
know.
have to wait to come back. You give them an iPhone or an Android phone, or they have a laptop, and they could be sitting there in their hotel room with their hands raised. I can swear them in. I've done a hearing when someone was a couple of weeks ago, actually a couple of months now. They were in France. They were in France. They're
They
a
were
little sleepy,
in
but they were
France.
in France. Yes, the country France. They were in France.
Wow.
So the litigants, so here's the perfect example. If you're a parent and you're a single parent
Mhm.
and you have a child that needs to be watched
Mhm.
and you're told you have to come to the courthouse, you need all day coverage. To
Right.
come to the courthouse is an all day event, even if it's a short hearing. So if you know you have a 10 o'clock hearing and it's going to last 15 minutes, at 9:59 a.m., you can hand to your child a book.
Mhm.
You can hand the child a puzzle. You can hand your child some sort of digital device, or you can have the child sit um, in the chair next to you and put a movie on, and then you can go click to your computer and go, good morning. And they can do that hearing for 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour. And then when that's over, they go, thank you, and click, and their child is right here. What
That
an incredible access to our court. And that's where we're talking about the perception of fairness. That's going to be a much more perceived fair hearing because of that accommodation. Because they don't have to wait. Okay, I'm not going to have a babysitter. My parent is not going to be able, like the grandparents not going to be able to babysit until this day, or
mhm.
things of that nature. It gets people in court, gets people in quicker. Now, business people, if you have a business, you don't
Right.
have to shut down your business all day. You can lock the door at 9:59, put the sign to closed, go do the hearing, go, thank you very much, turn it off, go back to the front door. Is that perception of there's more fear because you're not thinking, I just missed all those sales, or I spent all that money on a babysitter. That adds to it. So I love technology. I do virtual hearings 90% of the time. I have a few still in-person hearings, and I find the virtual ones, it just gets people. I can do things within 48 hours because I think that's a good amount of time. If it's a true emergency, I could probably get them in 24 because I can get them on Zoom or WebEx or Cisco or whatever platform it is.
I think that is so amazing that we have the opportunity to elect somebody who is going with and wants and sees the efficiency of a virtual courtroom, because within everything that's been going on, I know it's a new way of the court doing business. And so even though you've been elected for terms before, it's not just business as usual. And so the fact that you are willing and wanting and able and loving everything that's involved in this transition or this pivoting, even for the state and for our court system, it goes to show everyone why Judge Apte is the person to elect come August 18th. I have thoroughly, Judge, enjoyed this conversation with you. I have loved hearing more in-depth information about you and your upbringing and who you are as a person. Again, everybody, we appreciate you for coming and joining us today and asking some questions for the judge to be able to ask this evening. If you are looking for any more information, remember you can go to reelectjudgeapte.com. It is scrolling at the bottom of the screen to get more information. Election date is August 18th. Judge, I appreciate so much you taking time out of your evening to answer some questions from the community.
Absolutely, my pleasure. It was wonderful being here again. It's good seeing you, and I hope to see you all soon again. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Everybody, we look forward to seeing you again soon. Please replay this. Please share this. Please make sure you like this. That way we can give more of Judge Apte to more people. Everybody, we enjoy you. We thank you. And we hope you stay safe for the rest of the week. Judge, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Bye,
Have a wonderful evening.